Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. We have some fun, exciting factoring today. So before we get started with the new stuff, we're just going to do a quick review here of difference of two squares. Okay, so remember we can do dots when the first value is a perfect square and the second value is a perfect square, and it's difference, so it's subtraction here. Okay, so for this one, we could do 2x minus 3 and then 2x plus 3. Okay, for number 2, we can do 4x minus 1 and 4x plus 1. And then for number 3, we can do 6x minus 5 and 6x plus 5. Okay, so just a quick review there of difference of two squares. All right, so here we're getting onto the fun, new, exciting types of factoring. And I like to call these tricky trinomials, but they're really trinomials that have a leading coefficient other than 1. So we've already factored regular trinomials or easy trinomials. These ones are tricky trinomials because their leading coefficient is not 1. So it's another number that you cannot get rid of by taking out a GCF. Okay, so quadratic trinomial form, same thing as last time, ax squared plus bx plus c. And again, for a tricky trinomial, this a value would be a different value other than 1. Okay, so if we look at this first example, again, it's a trinomial, but this a value here is not a 1. So we can't factor it out. We can't take a GCF out. Okay, so what we actually have to do is instead of like in a normal trinomial, let's say we had x squared plus 5x plus 6, right? We said, okay, what multiplies to 6 and adds to the middle number 5? All right, here we actually have to multiply the first and last term. Okay, so multiply the first and last term. Okay, so we want to figure out now what multiplies to the product of the first and last term here. So what multiplies to 6? And then we're still going to find out what adds to that middle term. So what adds to 7? Okay, so I know that 6 times 1 multiplies to 6. 6 plus 1 adds to 7. So what I'm going to do with this now is I'm going to take these two factors that we found and I'm going to plug them in for my middle term. So I'm going to rewrite this as 2x squared plus, and then instead of writing 7x, I'm just going to write 6x plus 1x. So hopefully everybody agrees that 6x plus 1x is actually 7x, right? So I'm just rewriting this. I'm not changing it. And then plus 3. Okay, so again, what I did is I took the first and the last term and I multiplied them, okay, to get 6. So I now need to find what multiplies to 6 and still adds to the middle term. Okay, so I'm now going to go through and now I have a 4 terms polynomial. So when I have 4 terms, I'm going to do grouping. So I'm going to group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms here and take out a 2x to get x plus 3, take out a plus 1 to get x plus 3. So now I'm going to do 2x plus 1, right, from here, and then x plus 3. Okay, so again, the first part is just recognizing that it's a tricky trinomial instead of an easy trinomial. And then the second part is knowing that you have to multiply the first and last terms and then find the product, find the factors of the product of those terms. Okay, so number 2 here, find the factors of the product whose sum, well, we're just going to use this example here. Okay, so find the factors of 6 whose sum was equal to 7. Then we rewrote the polynomial using the 2 terms instead of the 1 linear term. Okay, and then factored by grouping. So again, it seems kind of tricky when you first look at it, but the more you do it, the easier it's going to become. Okay, so let's look at number 1 here. So always determine if it's a tricky trinomial by saying, okay, can I take out a GCF of 3? I know I can't. So it is going to be a tricky trinomial because this has a coefficient other than 1. So I need to figure out what multiplies to the product of 3 and 2. Okay, so what multiplies to 6 and adds to my middle term here, 7. Okay, so I know from the last one it's going to be the same thing here, 6 times 1. So I'm just going to rewrite this as 3x squared, but instead of 7x, I'm going to put 6x plus 1x, because 6x plus 1x is still equal to 7x. Okay, plus 2. So now that I have it into 4 terms, I can just group it. So once you do that, that's really the only new part. And then grouping is the same as what we've done before. Okay, so we have 3x plus 1 and then x plus 2. Okay, so again, number 2, I see that there's a coefficient other than 1 here. I can't take out a GCF, so I know I need to multiply the 2 times 3. So again, I need to figure out what multiplies to 6 and adds to 5. Okay, so I know that's 3 times 2. So I'm basically going to take this and plug it in just for my middle term. So I'm going to rewrite this as 2x squared plus 3x plus 2x, because again, that would add to 5x, plus 3. And now I'm going to do grouping here. And I can take out an x and get 2x plus 3. I can take out a 1 and have 2x plus 3. So that's going to leave me with 2x plus 3 and then x plus 1. And it doesn't matter the order. So like this 3 and 2, I could have put 2x plus 3x. That's also fine. You'll get the same answer. Okay, so you can kind of switch the order. It doesn't matter there. All right, so for number 3, again, I have a coefficient other than 1. I can't take out a GCF to get rid of it. So I need to figure out what multiplies to negative 30. Make sure you always take the sign in front of the number and adds to negative 13. Okay, so multiplies to negative 30, adds to negative 13. So it's going to be negative 15 times 2. Okay, so now I'm taking these values and plugging them in for that 13x. So I have 3x squared minus 15x plus 2x, because again, that would give me negative 13x minus 10. So now I'm just going to group these here. So I can take out a 3x to get x minus 5. I can take out a 2 to get x minus 5. So that leaves me with the 3x plus 2 and then the x minus 5. Isn't this fun, people? So much better than easy trinomials. Okay. You just have to also be careful. Sometimes people just have so much fun with tricky trinomials that they'll get an easy trinomial and they'll start doing the whole 4-step process here. Don't do that, right? If you can get rid of the coefficient in front of x squared, or it's just a 1, you just want to do a normal easy trinomial. Okay, even though this is really fun. All right, so again, here we're going to these to multiply to negative 9 and add to 8. Okay, so that would give me 9 and a negative 1. So I'm going to take that and just plug it in for my 8x. So 3x squared plus 9x minus 1x minus 3. And again, make sure you're putting an x with these values since you're basically plugging it in for the value that has an x. So now I'm just going to do grouping, take out a 3x to get my x plus 3, take out a negative 1 to get my x plus 3. So I have 3x minus 1, parentheses, x plus 3 left over. Okay. All right, so for number 5, again, I cannot factor this 2 out to get rid of that. So I'm going to multiply to get negative 42, and it adds to a negative 1. Okay, so that's going to be -7 times 6. So I'm going to plug those in here for my negative x. So I'm going to rewrite that as 2x squared minus 7x plus 6x minus 21. And again, if you change the order, you're going to get the same answer here. So I take out an x to get my 2x minus 7. I take out a 3 to get my 2x minus 7. So I'm left with x plus 3 and then 2x minus 7. All right, so last one here. Again, we want to double check. We cannot take out anything to get rid of the 2 here. So we need to figure out what multiplies to -24 and adds to -5. Okay, so remember, if you're having any trouble trying to figure out the factors, you can always just go through and list all of your factors. And then we're going to see the 3 times 8, hopefully. So I know it has to be a -3 and a +8. So I'm going to plug these in. So we have 2x squared minus 3x plus 8x minus 12. And then we're just going to do our grouping and take out an x to get 2x minus 3. We're going to take out a 4 to get 2x minus 3. So we're going to end up with our x plus 4 and then our 2x minus 3. All right, so I hope you all had fun with these tricky trinomials. If you have any questions, make sure you go back, highlight the ones you have questions on so we can go through them in class, and we will continue going over these in our live session. All right, hope everybody has a good day.